Hello everybody, it's Jen. I am designing with Pink and Main's November 2019 Crafty Courtyard Kit. This month is all about Fantastic Florals. It's a gorgeous color palette. I love that there's purples in here and I love the contrast of the white and black. So just showing you the paper pad here, the papers are absolutely stunning. You can create cards with just the paper alone. They really can carry the weight of a clean and simple card, and I will show you how to do one of those during our 5-card video today. There's lots of fun little embellishments. There's a package of tags here, and they have some fun designs on the bottoms. 2 of them have some die cut pieces at the bottom, and the other ones some zigzag pattern there. There are some wood embellishments and some florals here as well. Of course, you get a little pin with your kit and some twine. There are 2 shaker packs this month. They are both stunning. And then there is this gorgeous stencil, which I use in 2 of my cards, just bringing in some of the glitter paper here so you could see that pattern a bit better. The stamp set is beautiful. It has the outlines and also the stamps so that you can use your inks for the images. So if you aren't someone who likes to color, this kit is great. Included as well are some envelopes. There's 2 of the sparkle papers, which are gorgeous. They're a heavy weight and the glitter does not come off. And then of course some cardstock. So we're going to jump into card number 1. And I thought I'd start off with sort of the easiest design that came to mind. So I'm going to be stamping out the floral outline on some premium Spectrum Noir cardstock. And I thought I'd bring out my Arteza Everblend markers. Haven't used them in a while. So pulled them out, and I'm going to be coloring this flower in a really pretty purple color to play off the purple that's in the kit. If you love purple, you are going to see a lot of it in this video. So I'm just going to color up a few of these petals here just to show you how I colored them. So I'm laying down my lightest marker first, then going where I want the darkest shadows with the darkest marker, blending that out with the midtone, and then blending that out with the lightest marker again. So I'm going to show you that one more time, and then we'll move forward to the leaves. So with the Everblend markers, I tend to like to use a circular motion with my coloring, blending out the colors that way, as opposed to with Copics, you use more of a flicking motion or back and forth. Love how this rich purple ended up turning out. Now for the leaves, I ended up using a teal. There were some leaves on the pattern paper that were done in teal, and I thought that was really pretty and would play well with the dark rich purple that I chose for the flower itself. So here I'm just lining out where I want my darkest shadows to be with my lightest marker. Now I'm going in with the darkest marker, and the first time I did the leaves, I thought I was just going to put the darkest shading where the leaves were behind the flower petals, and then the leaf to the top and the bottom where they were behind the largest leaf in the middle. I went with my mid-tone here, and I decided to go over the veins and then blend that out with the lightest marker. Once I get this first layer of color down, I felt like I didn't quite get the dimension I wanted. So I am going to go over the leaves a second time here, and I'm going to bring that darkest marker back. And this time I'm going to use the darkest marker on the veins as well. And you're going to see how this gives a very different look with a bit more dimension. So I'm going to blend that out now with my mid-tone, and then of course come back with the lightest and blend that all together. Once I finish coloring this side of the leaves, we'll fast forward to stamping out the sentiment. So I'm using the really beautiful scripty Thinking of You stamp that came in the stamp set this month. And I'm just kind of snugging that up to the little sprigs there that are coming out to the bottom of the flower. I'm going to stamp this out once with my Versafine Clair Nocturne ink I'll get a beautiful crisp image on my first stamp. This is definitely my favorite ink for stamping sentiments. Then I'm going to bring in some of the black cardstock, and this has some embossed dots on it, so it's really pretty. It just gives a soft effect, but I'm going to use this to kind of frame my panel. So I am going to cut the panel down that I colored my image on with a stitched rectangle die. So I'll quickly die cut that using my Sizzix Big Shot machine. And then I'll go ahead and I'll adhere this to the black cardstock. I loved the dot pattern on that black cardstock. I thought it played really well with the circular image of the little sprigs there. So once I get this onto the cardstock, I will go ahead and adhere this to my card base. Just using liquid adhesive for this. I will need to trim up my card base just a little bit, so I will do that. And then I'll add a little bit of embellishing. So first I had to get a little smudge off the bottom of my card. I think my white eraser is my best friend. Then I decided to use a black glaze pen here and go over the circular spots on the sprigs. And I'm also going to use that for the center of my floral image as well. So there's a look at card number 1. Jumping into card number 2, I absolutely fell in love with this stencil. So I'm just going to use some of my purple tape here, and I'm going to adhere the purple cardstock to the back of my stencil. I'm going to use some glitter glitz. No, what's this called? This is called Glitz Glitter Gel by Gina K. This is in white and it's super sparkly and gorgeous. And I'm going to add this on top of my stencil. So this will give a really pretty glittery raised effect on top of the purple cardstock. So I'm just going to do a very thin layer here. Once I get that on, then I can go ahead and peel that up. You want to make sure that you clean your stencils right away when you're using a paste or a glitter gel. I did go ahead and create a panel earlier in the day and let that dry for quite a while, so we're going to use that one. And I simply cut out one of the florals from the pattern paper. Went ahead and already adhered that to some foam tape, just had to release that one piece of paper that I hadn't taken off yet, and then I'm going to center this on to my card panel. I did go ahead and white heat emboss the Thinking of You sentiment on some black cardstock and trim that out, and I just wanted to hide that little bottom piece that had a straight edge from being at the end of the pattern paper. And that's card number 2 done. Very simple design, but very elegant and pretty. Again, I really wanted to use this stencil for card number 3. This time I'm bringing in some Distress Oxide in Antique Linen. I'm going for a very soft look for this back panel here. You almost can't see it the first time I lay the ink down, but I want to make sure that I have some areas that are darker and some that are lighter. The antique linen plays nicely with the kind of buttercream color in the florals. Now this is from the same piece of pattern paper. This is the reverse side. I kind of showed you in the last card that one side has black to the underside of the flowers, and then the flip side has white. So you can see the black here. And then for this card, obviously I'm choosing the white. I cut out 3 of the clusters of the flowers. Now I am leaving a little bit of an edge to both of those sides because I am going to bring in a frame here to frame this card panel. Trimmed up that one little leaf to fill in that white space on the bottom left-hand corner. I will trim off the edges here where any of those florals are overhanging. And here's where I'm going to bring in the Scalloped frame die here. This is by Fawn. I did pop this up on some foam tape, but I'm also going to add a little bit of liquid adhesive. So I have a little bit of time here to ensure that I get this frame in place. This glitter cardstock is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm so excited that they included it in the kit this month. They are opening up new more subscriptions this month, so if you want to become a subscriber, I will leave all the links for the kit and the other products that I used in the description box below. I'm bringing in this thanks die. I use thank you cards way more than I do thinking of you cards, so I wanted to add this to my card, and I like how this matches the glitter frame. So there's a look at that card. Love how that turned out, and using that pattern paper just makes for such a gorgeous card. Now card number 4 is really simple. I wanted to use this pattern paper. I loved the black hearts in the background. So again, I'm going to use that polka dot embossed cardstock that came in the kit. I did go ahead and cut that thanks die out of the center, and I'll use that again as my sentiment for this card. So I trimmed out this floral pattern paper with a rounded rectangle die, just for something a little bit different, and then I went ahead and added it to that black cardstock. Now I can go ahead and add this card panel to my card base. Once I get that in place, I will need to trim up the one side. I'm not sure if I cut my card panel wonky or I cut the black cardstock, but you can see it's definitely too short to the one side, so I'll get that fixed up and then add the thanks die cut right to the bottom of this card. Very simple card to create, but the pattern paper, like I said, was just so gorgeous. So to add a little bit of interest, I am going to use my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen here and add some glittery sparkle to the flowers. Then I decided to bring in some Nuvo drops in White Blizzard, and I'm just going to add a few of those to the center of the 2 flowers to the top of our little bunch of flowers here. I thought about doing it for the 3rd one, but there wasn't really a designated area for the center of the flower, so I chose not to. And there is that card complete. So moving on to card number 5. Card number 5 was actually the first card I made with this kit, but I put it to the end of the video because it took me the longest to create. So I went ahead and cut out some masks with the floral stamp here. So I'm using my Simon Says stamp masking paper. I'm going to create a little cluster here of the flowers using the outline stamp. So stamped that full image the first time and then went ahead and added the mask to that. For the next one, I just want to use the center floral. So I'm using the masks to help me figure out where I want to position the stamp. And then I'm going to go ahead and add some purple tape around the floral itself so that when I ink up the image, I don't get any ink on the leaves. So I'm going to stamp that up with my Versafine Clair Nocturne ink. And then once I have the ink all over the image, I can go ahead and peel up that tape, and then only the floral itself will stamp. I will go ahead and mask that one as well, and then I'm going to stamp the floral a 3rd time. So I'm using my Nocturne ink because I'm going to be doing some watercoloring for this particular card. I'm going to figure out where I want this second flower. I kind of hemmed and hawed a little bit about placement. So you see me play with that a little bit. I'm tossing and turning it one way or the other, just trying to figure out how it will look best to kind of fill in that white space. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to stamp up this image. I did include the leaves at the top, so I didn't have to mask this one out with the tape. Now I'm going to bring in the really pretty leaf stamp here. I'm going to stamp it once to the left-hand side, and then once I get that done, I'm going to also stamp it to the top right-hand side. Again, just kind of figuring out where I want that placement, and when I decide on where I want it, then I can go ahead and ink that up and stamp that as well. So you can get really creative with this stamp and make some really beautiful clusters of florals and leaves. So I'm going to be doing some watercoloring with my Catherine Pooler inks. For the largest leaves, I'm using the Lime Ricky. I'm using some distress paper here. This is the Tim Holtz Distress watercolor paper. I love it because it's a bright white. I did spray the entire card panel here with water, and then you can see I'm going back and forth using more water to get a very light wash. I want this to have a very soft, messy watercolor look where the color is actually coming out of the lines. So this is my first layer of the watercolor. I'm just doing a very light wash here. The blue color was All That Jazz, and then the purple that I'm using is called Flirty Fuchsia. So I'm going to color all the flowers purple for this one as well. So you can see that I totally fell in love with the purples in this card kit. I feel like there just isn't enough purple in card making, so I totally ran with that. So once I get my first layer down, I did dry that with my heat tool a little bit. My card panel here was quite saturated. Now I'm going to go over a second time. And I want to have the color a little bit more pigmented, so I'm not using quite as much water here. And here's where I'm going to drop in most of my shadows. So the second layer just really allows you to build up that color a little bit more. And if you're new to watercoloring, I don't watercolor a lot, but the messy technique is really fun. It's really forgiving. Florals are great for this technique. So I encourage you, if you have this kit or you have some floral stamps in your stash, to go ahead and try this way of coloring them. It's just fun. You kind of get lost in the moment and can really enjoy the process. Again, just bringing in some water when I want the color to be a little bit lighter. Adding more water to the ink itself. You can see here with this teal color that I get a nice variation of color with this second pass. Now that one leaf I did color green by mistake, so I'm just adding some of the aqua to that, and that will just kind of give a hint of that it belongs to that longer branch of the leaves. So for the flowers, I went ahead and saturated them quite a bit with water for this second pass of the coloring. And here I'm just going where the shadows would be. So underneath the petals, so if a petal is over top of another, there would be a shadow. And then where the leaves overhang the petals, there would be a shadow, as well as a shadow behind where the flowers themselves lay over top of each other. So just as I did with all the other images, bringing in that color, laying it down. The paintbrushes that I'm using are Ranger paintbrushes. They're super affordable. They come in a pack of 5 or 6 and they're under $10. And because I don't watercolor or paint a lot, these do really well for me, and I don't feel the need to purchase anything else. So those will be linked below as well if you're looking for an affordable set of paintbrushes. Here to the end of this card, I'm adding a lot more water. I wanted the colors to run here. Where they ran a little too much, I'm just picking that up with a paper towel, and then I'm going to go ahead and heat my cardstock and just make sure that it's nice and dry. So I did go ahead and add some fun foam to the back of this. And originally, the whole time I was doing this card, I thought that I was going to do a landscape card. But once I had the card complete, I loved it in portrait style. So that's what I went with. I went ahead and I stamped out the hello using the All That Jazz color. This came in the little welcome gift with the kit. And then I went ahead and stamped out friend underneath, and that is from the same little stamp set. I'm going to peel off the release paper. This is just some double-sided tape here on top of some fun foam. And then I'm going to add this to my card base. I absolutely love the way this card turned out. This was my favorite by far. So I'm going to add some Ebony Black Nouveau drops here, and I had a little bit of a runaway with that first squirt, so I had to make that circle a little bit larger. Of course, Lila came in to get in on what I was doing and decided to kind of stand to the side of my mat, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. But I'm going to add the Ebony Black Nouveau to the center of the flowers as well, and this just really makes the black pop, and I love it. Now, I did have a little bit of a smudge here, so I'm just going to use my white gel pen and clean that up. And there is the final card complete. Love how soft and pretty this card turned out. So I'll slow it down for you, show you all 5 cards. I hope you enjoyed the variation in cards that I was able to create with this kit. Definitely had a lot of fun with it. You could make so many more cards just with the floral paper alone, but absolutely loved this kit, and I just want to thank you for hanging out with me today. So let me know which one is your favorite, if you have a favorite. In case you missed it, I started my holiday card series already this week, so there was one up on Friday and there will be one up again on Sunday, so check that out. I'll leave a couple videos here for you to watch in the meantime. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you so much, like I said, for joining me, and I'll see you really soon. Bye!